Do you regret ever getting involved in...
I didn't have a choice. It got bad when I was about 15 years old because when I did MTV Cribs, the day that I had to go show off that house, my mom and my dad told me, we're getting a divorce, but you still have to go do this. I had to go show off all the stuff my whole life that was going to be taken away from me.
The leak didn't start with a bang, it started with a blur, a low-resolution clip quietly passed around in niche forums, DMS, and encrypted group chats. At first, no one knew what they were looking at. The angle was strange, the lighting was dim, but then someone enhanced it. And what was once just background noise became a chilling visual. A teenage Aaron Carter sitting stiffly on a leather couch inside a mansion with Sean Diddy Combs just a few feet away. No cameras, no press, no performance, just a silent moment in what should have been a private room now exposed to the world.
There's a bunch of videos that have recently resurfaced because of all these speculations and allegations about Diddy possibly being involved with Aaron Carter's passing.
They had cops come and check for a rope in my garage saying I wanted to hang myself.
Brother Aaron Carter.
Right.
A lot of people keep forgetting Aaron Carter was begging for help, begging for independent financing, begging for security. He made it very clear Sony was out to get him, just like Michael Jackson told him they would be. And right around that time, his brother had just been accused of graping one of the girls from making the band, Diddy's entity. And they were trying to make all of that go away. And Aaron called his brother out. And then the next thing you know, he said, if anything happens to me, I did not do this to myself. And then he was gone, and they said he took his own life, just like they're saying about Liam Payne. Why doesn't anyone want to see the same thing happening over and over and over again?
Did you hear what happened with Diddy's bodyguard? Wait, no. The bodyguard that was going to testify against P. Diddy.
Jay-Z and Puffy wanted Biggie killed.
He's been posting on TikTok, exposing everything. Of guess what? Wait, guess what? No. Pneumonia. No. They found him of pneumonia. The one that was on TikTok exposing him just... If you guys don't know, a whole bunch of celebrities that were tied to Diddy that out of nowhere, they usually have pneumonia. Brittany Murphy. Remember all of those different people in the Bad Boy Records? All pneumonia? And crazy.
And I see people saying, you look like you have AIDS, you should go die. I don't understand how I dedicated 22 years of my life to my fans, and now they turn on.
The tape was raw. It didn't contain anything explicit or violent. There were no raised voices, no physical interactions, but what made it disturbing was the atmosphere. Aaron wasn't smiling. He wasn't excited to be there. He wasn't doing the usual celebrity routine. He looked frozen, uncomfortable, like he was waiting for something to happen or trying to avoid it. And standing nearby, in a relaxed, casual pose, was Diddy, talking with another adult off camera. There was no sound in the original clip, but that didn't matter. The tension in the room was loud enough. Viewers who knew nothing about the situation felt it immediately. Something about it just didn't feel right. Aaron was a child. Diddy was a grown man with immense influence. And this wasn't a recording studio or an award show green room. This was a private estate. The timestamp placed it sometime in the early 2000s, during the height of Aaron's fame. He was barely a teenager, and no one could explain why he was there alone in that kind of setting. What followed was a media storm. People who had once ignored Aaron's warnings began to take a second look. His fans remembered the Instagram lives, the GoFundMe campaign, the late-night rants where he pleaded for protection, saying he was being watched, followed and owed money by some of the biggest names in the industry. For years, those statements were dismissed as breakdowns. Now they seemed like receipts. In the days that followed the first video leak, more clips began to surface. Not from mainstream sources, not yet, but from back channels, encrypted uploads, mirror sites. Some were just seconds long. Others showed Aaron being escorted through back entrances of lavish properties. One video in particular showed him standing awkwardly by a pool, clutching a soda can while Diddy and a group of adults chatted in the background. Aaron didn't interact with them. He stood apart, fidgeting, clearly uncomfortable. The more footage came out, the more questions piled up. Why was Aaron a minor at so many of Diddy's private events? Why was he always alone? Where were his handlers, his parents, his security? And why did he always look like he didn't want to be there? Then someone went digging. An independent journalist uncovered a now deleted tweet from Aaron, dated nearly a decade ago. In it, he referenced being forced to smile in front of people who scared me. The tweet gained little traction at the time, but after the leak, it was rediscovered and spread like wildfire. People started connecting the dots. They pulled up old interviews, paparazzi videos, even footage from reality shows he participated in during his later years. There were patterns, courses darmir or manner your ear or more coded phrases, tense expressions, and sudden changes in mood whenever certain topics or names were brought up. The internet did what it always does when mysteries unfold. It investigated, and this time it uncovered something explosive. A high-resolution copy of the original video, the full version. This wasn't just Aaron on a couch. This was a 20-minute recording inside a house confirmed to be owned by Diddy at the time. It showed a full conversation between Diddy and another adult while Aaron sat off to the side. At one point, Aaron quietly asked if he could call his mom. The audio wasn't crystal clear, but lip readers confirmed what he said. The adult next to Diddy responded with something that made Aaron shift in his seat and lower his head. It wasn't illegal, it wasn't graphic, but it was heartbreaking because it proved one thing above all: Aaron didn't feel safe. And it wasn't just one incident. By now, more than 5 separate clips had emerged, spanning over 2 years. Each one showed Aaron in similar situations, present at high-profile private gatherings hosted by Diddy, often without any visible supervision, often looking like he wanted to disappear. And every time, Diddy was nearby, sometimes with other celebrities, sometimes with unknown guests, but always in control. These weren't parties open to the public, they were elite gatherings. You didn't get invited unless you were somebody or being brought there by somebody powerful. And that's what changed the conversation completely, because Aaron Carter had spent the last few years of his life warning people that something happened. He spoke about being set up, about being targeted, about being made into a scapegoat. People laughed, they called it delusion. But now, with real footage backing his presence at places no teenager should have been, those so-called delusions looked more like suppressed memories. The final nail came when one of the tapes included a clip of Diddy saying Aaron's name directly. It was brief, he wasn't addressing him, he was referencing him in a conversation with another adult saying he's going to blow up after this. There's no way to know what he meant. There's no confirmation of what this was. But it confirmed without doubt that Diddy wasn't just coincidentally in the same rooms. He was actively aware of Aaron's involvement. That changed everything. Comment sections exploded, Reddit threads hit record traffic. YouTube commentators dropped full-hour breakdowns of the timeline, theories formed, investigations reopened. And in the background, people started wondering who else knew? Because Diddy didn't throw parties alone, he was always surrounded by other celebrities, other artists, executives, agents. How many of them saw Aaron and said nothing? How many of them noticed his discomfort and stayed silent? Silence became the second scandal. Even more damning was the discovery of handwritten notes found in one of Aaron's old storage units, made public by a former assistant. In shaky penmanship, Aaron had written phrases like, "They know everything, and I'm just the bait." It's impossible to verify what exactly he meant, but in context with the videos, the meaning feels haunting. And yet, Diddy's team has remained quiet. No public statement, no press release, no clarification, just silence. That silence in a moment like this speaks volumes. Because even if no laws were broken in the tapes, even if everything shown was technically within the bounds of a legal system, the moral reality is much harsher. A young artist, overwhelmed and vulnerable, was brought into circles he never should have been part of. And the man at the center of those circles was Diddy. This isn't a witch hunt. This isn't random speculation. This is about the truth finally rising to the surface after years of being buried under NDAs, reputation management, and glossy headlines. Aaron Carter was asking for help. He just didn't have the platform to make people listen, but the tapes did. Now the pressure is mounting. Legal experts are saying that if even one of those videos can be connected to a contract, a booking, or a financial incentive, it could shift from moral controversy to legalgation. Others are pointing out that even if nothing criminal occurred, the pattern of behavior paints a disturbing picture of how young talent was handled in the industry. And at the heart of that storm is Diddy. As pressure mounted and the clips continued to spread, mainstream media could no longer avoid the conversation. What started in fringe forums and independent video breakdowns quickly crossed into primetime news coverage. Legacy networks, once hesitant to touch anything that challenged the polished image of major celebrities, began dedicating airtime to the situation. They played carefully edited segments of the tapes and asked the questions the public had been demanding for weeks. Why was Aaron Carter so often found in places he clearly didn't feel safe? And why was Diddy's name always attached? Suddenly, journalists who once labeled Aaron Carter a troubled former pop star were walking back their narratives. Reporters who had long dismissed his live streams and social media posts as rants were now rewatching them with a new lens. It wasn't just the content of what Aaron said, it was the consistency, the fear in his voice, the repetition of certain names, themes, and warnings. It all lined up too perfectly with the footage that had emerged. And then came the breakthrough no one expected, a private voice recording. This wasn't leaked footage. It was an audio message Aaron had left for a friend months before he passed. In it, Aaron described a time when he was invited to an event under the pretense of meeting producers, only to arrive and find himself surrounded by unfamiliar adults, high insecurity, and an intimidating atmosphere. He didn't name Diddy directly, but the location he described matched one of the estates featured in the leaked clips. His voice cracked as he recalled how he tried to leave early, but was told his ride had already been paid for and wouldn't return until late. This recording, confirmed by metadata to be authentic, was enough to turn private suspicion into public outrage. Hashtags exploded across social media. Justice for Aaron trended for days. Fans began organizing, creating timelines, sourcing archival interviews, and pooling every public reference Aaron ever made to his time in the industry. It became a digital case file, one more detailed than any news outlet had ever compiled, and at the top of that file was one constant name: Diddy. What had once been considered isolated incidents now formed a pattern. Aaron wasn't the only young artist from that era who showed signs of burnout, withdrawal, or distress after early fame, but his situation stood apart because he said something. He tried to explain what was happening. He spoke out against powerful people, and now, thanks to the leaked materials, he had the receipts, albeit from beyond the grave. In response to mounting public scrutiny, a former music executive who once worked under Diddy's umbrella label anonymously shared an interview with an independent journalist. The executive claimed that events involving young artists were often framed as opportunities to meet decision makers, but that these gatherings lacked any formal oversight. He admitted that underage performers were sometimes invited without their managers or guardians present, and that it was a common practice to assure them everything was industry standard. He called it a toxic culture of obedience, where saying no could end your career before it started. He didn't explicitly mention Aaron Carter, but he did confirm that Diddy had been at the center of many of these invite-only gatherings, often deciding who was allowed in and who was left out. The dominoes were beginning to fall. While Diddy's camp remained mostly silent, the legal world was waking up. Investigators began reviewing Aaron's death under a new light, not as a medical tragedy, but as a potential case of systemic negligence. Lawyers representing the Carter estate filed a motion to obtain full access to private correspondence between Aaron and several former industry contacts. If granted, these communications could open a floodgate of new information. In the meantime, several artists who had remained quiet began issuing responses on social media. One former pop star tweeted a simple message: "Aaron was right. Another shared a broken heart emoji over a link to one of Aaron's last live streams. These weren't full confessions, but they were acknowledgments. And in an industry built on silence, even that meant everything. Meanwhile, Aaron's fans organized a memorial live stream where thousands gathered virtually to honor his memory. But this wasn't just a tribute, it was a call to action. Comments filled the stream chat. He warned us. He deserved better. Why didn't anyone protect him? Where was everyone when he asked for help? Each comment echoed louder than the last. The sense of guilt, anger, and betrayal wasn't going away. If anything, it was growing. And at the center of that storm remained the man whose power had shielded him for decades, Sean Combs. In the days that followed, new footage leaked, this time of a public event where Aaron and Diddy shared a stage. Diddy placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder and Aaron noticeably flinched. It's subtle. Blink and you'd miss it. But in slow motion, the reaction is unmistakable. A child instinctively recoiling from a man the world celebrated. That single moment became a symbol. Fans clipped it, zoomed in, shared it. This one user wrote is what fear looks like. No press release could erase that image. No legal team could spin it. It was visceral, honest, and undeniable. The tide had turned and the silence that once protected powerful names was beginning to crack. People were no longer asking if Aaron Carter had suffered. They were asking how many others had stories just like his, but never lived long enough to tell them.